I think a lot of companies call something innovation or cool, and then it's like, so what? Show me. What does it really do? How big an innovation do we really have? A lot of you folks are technologists. This is a CTO forum, right? So I would ask you at the end of every year to take a step back and say, what did we deliver that dramatically changed the business trajectory this year? And next year, what are we doing that's going to be legendary, you know? Because I think too many of us just end up grinding through the checklist of a million good ideas that you go out and try to deliver. I think part of what our roles as technologists are is to dream big and find a way to do things that no one else can do. In the startup world, we talk about innovation and how cool it is, and part of what I write about in the book is everybody wants to be an entrepreneur today, but you know, the truth is most entrepreneurs fail, right? Or most startups fail. I try to pick the ones that don't, you know, but most of them do. And by the way, if they don't, they become successful, like a Google or an eBay or Salesforce, and then you're back being a company. Oh, well, what do we do now, right? So I think we've got to figure out how to make companies appeal to that spirit and entrepreneurship that is in so many folks and why they want to do startups today versus joining companies.
And I think this works for any industry, regardless of where you are, whether it's CPG or any enterprise for that matter. I think you really have to get precise on the problem you're trying to solve before you leap to solution. And I think you really do have to say, am I getting the maximum functional input around insights? Am I getting truly consumer insight as well as customer insight? And am I getting good cross-functional connection on those insights? I'm not, you know, siloing this thing away where I'm expecting the marketing department to come up with the insight. I got off on the wrong foot with our marketing department when I first started the company because that was my background, marketing from Procter & Gamble, et cetera. And I got up in front of the marketing group and I said, marketing's too important to be left to the marketers. And they said, what the hell does that mean? I said, guys, this is a team sport. You better get R&D involved. You better get product supply involved. You better get the sales guys involved. You better get the finance guys involved. This is not just the marketing department. We all create demand. So make sure that you're getting that cross-functional expertise fueling those insights. And then obviously R&D is the center of excellence for technology, but make sure that you've got product supply sitting at the table along with the marketers, et cetera. And then this 3D model, again, I think it works probably across industries if you're selling to consumers at the end of the day. You better figure out how to create desire for your brand. You better figure out how to win at the point of sale, whatever that point of sale is, whether it's retail or on a click. And then you better delight them once they take it home. Or in this, obviously, as we all know in this age, it's going to be a pretty frustrating experience for you if you don't delight them. And then create that value and make sure that that value is created across those multi-dimensions. There are a number of constituencies we all have to satisfy, but at the end of the day, it is the consumer, the customer, and the shareholder.
We focus on those transitions. We're market leader in many categories, so that engine has to turn and continue to drive innovation. But one thing I would tell you is that I think it's actually really hard for a group that has 70% market share, maybe does $8 billion, to actually disrupt themselves. And sometimes that becomes a real challenge. And maybe we could talk about ways in which big groups who have very successful businesses, in our case, the most profitable and successful and highest market share in their categories, but then transitions come along to disrupt them. And how do you actually disrupt yourself? And in our view, you better take that outside that group or be do some significant acquisitions that I would describe as platform acquisitions that actually change the rules significantly. But it's a matter of maintaining the leadership we have in the marketplace, looking at different innovation models because one size does not fit all, and then understanding a pattern that can be used over time to drive ongoing and constant innovation. And that's some of the things we focused on. There's lessons we can learn from everyone here in this room, but those are some of the things I've seen at least happen in my 19 years at Cisco.
The selection has to be really based on the practicality of making that acquisition successful within your own within your own organization. Now, of course, that requires a strategy around integration. So you need a plan around integration. Now, no company starting out from scratch is going to have a good integration practice day one. Now, there are some consultants out there. It's probably a good idea to bring some in if you're going through your first acquisition. But even then, I mean, this is something, it's sort of like a sports team. You got to practice. And you can only practice by doing. Probably good to acquire some small companies first before you acquire big companies. It takes practice to learn how to integrate well. And you'll be surprised by your different functional organizations, HR, legal, finance, as well as your functional groups, whether it's development or sales and so forth, and what they'll do and what they won't do, and the mistakes that they'll make. So my view is you need to have someone in the BD organization that is coordinating it and organizing it. And over time, you need to build expertise in every one of the functional groups around integration. And again, those goals are based on your overall acquisition strategy. As I mentioned to you before, at Cisco it was about retaining people. At Oracle it's about not retaining people. Those are different. They're both valid strategies, but obviously they're different motions. And so your teams need to understand them fully, practice them, and practice over time.
What I was really trying to highlight more than anything else in the earlier part here is there are a lot of forces that I think are probably going to challenge our basic business model and challenge really how electricity is generated, delivered, and used by customers. So what does a business do in response to that? I think really two things. You kind of work both sides simultaneously. Because you don't know the pace at which this is going to happen, and you don't know ultimately what it's going to look like in the, quote, new world. And as I said up front, there's some that don't believe there's going to be a new world. Kind of look at it as we have to continue to defend the basic business that we have, which I think of as fundamentally a wires business. So that's the transmission and the distribution lines that deliver this stuff. And the primary thing we want to do is make that a true network as opposed to just one-way flow of electricity from central plant to the usage. We want to make this a network so anything can plug into it. And yes, it may be used as much as backup as anything else, but everything will have to travel through that network. That's the defend the core part, while developing new ones. And here we're doing these outside of the utility, but we are looking at distributed generation, so where we would we would develop those rooftop solar applications or wind farms or micro turbines, whatever they may be, primarily aimed at our commercial and industrial customers. Electrification of transportation, we think is a pretty good opportunity. Water purification, there's always been a hand-in-glove relationship between water and electricity. And then finally, providing energy services to commercial and industrial customers. So this is kind of the new world that will sit outside of the existing world with some real challenges about how to continue to innovate.